We want to welcome you to the inaugural broadcast of the sports scene, where we will discuss sports in Bledsoe County and across the state of Tennessee, college, pros, whatever it is. It's basketball, baseball, softball, whatever, even tiddlywinks. If you think that's a sport, we'll discuss that too. But my name is Mike Smith, and with me is my co-host Bradley Hargis. Bradley, welcome to the broadcast or telecast on Bledsoe Telephone 18.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, WAT. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Talking about these sports here locally and also outside the county as far as the professional sports and college sports. So I'm kind of excited to see how this thing plays out.
First off, we're going to discuss the high school football season, including Bledsoe County football, of course. And of course, this is the first broadcast, and we're going to be a little bit nervous, and we're going to basically try to shake it out, so to speak, to get rid of the rough edges. Well, Bledsoe County this year, well, they play in the Jamboree next week at Dunlap. They'll be playing Sequatchie County Junior Varsity in the first quarter. That'll be Bledsoe Junior Varsity versus Sequatchie Junior Varsity. Then they will play Ray County. The regulars will play Ray County in the second quarter at Dunlap, and of course they have been there for the past few years. And of course Howard, Grundy, Whitwell, and Sequatchie County will be there as well in that Jamboree. And of course it's the oldest Jamboree in the state of Tennessee. It originally used to tend to raise money. Now the thing is, they want you to buy the tickets at the high school. That way it goes to Bledsoe County. If they buy it at the gate, it goes to Sequatchie County. So if you are a Bledsoe County fan, the last thing you want to do is contribute to Sequatchie County anymore. You have to.
Yeah.
But anyway, Bledsoe County last year finished 7-5, lost in the second round to East Robertson. Bradley, what do you see about Bledsoe County this year that they could have another successful season?
Well, they lost a few key players. I mean, the Hunter Clark, Eli Tabor, Tristan Smith, Silas Davis, Brady Reese, Brayton Boring. I mean, they've lost a lot of key players in some pretty important roles. But the thing I'm most worried about is I'm not really worried about the skilled positions. Jonathan Thomas is back. He will be a junior this year.
Yes.
And we still have Jace Raines, Sam Agee, Nathan Sendell. Those guys. I'm worried about the 2 or 3 spots on the line: Silas Davis, Tristan Smith, and David Holt. Those are pretty good sized fellas that really made the room for Hunter Clark to shine last year. Mm-hmm. and Sam Agee and Kamen Seaver and all of those guys. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what Coach Tabor has done for the offensive line, because I have no doubt that those running backs that we have now, Kamen Seaver and Sam Agee and all of those, that will be stepping up. I think we're going to be pretty good there. And receiving core wise, you know, that's again to be determined. We'll see what we've got to work with, and because Brady Reese was a pretty good target last year, Jace Raines was a good target last year at tight end. We got him back, so it's going to be interesting to see what he's done specifically on the line. That's always been my concern with Bledsoe County. Athlete wise, we've had plenty of guys that did a lot of great things, but if you don't have somebody to block for them, make a hole for them, ain't much they can do. So.
Well, of course, Bledsoe has a very challenging schedule this year. They go to Dunlap for the first regular season. It hasn't happened since 1973. That's the 50th anniversary of Sequatchie County's runner-up state championship team, the Austin Dyer County, I believe 28-6. And really, that game is usually in mid-September or maybe at the end of the season, but because of scheduling things. Bradley, let's talk about the scheduling thing. Do you believe that what the TWSAA did was fair in putting us in the Region 2, or do you think it's unfair, or you think that somebody must have really lost a few noodles off their soup?
Well, I wouldn't go as far as say it was fair or unfair. I just think that it's kind of silly that you have, geographically speaking, you have schools that are a lot closer. Oneida and Jamestown would have been better off to be in the northern Region 1 with Elizabeth and all of those schools on the north end of the state, northeast corner. And then you've got teams like Marion County and Monterey and Cannon County. Those teams are playing, over in the Nashville area, right, and Southern Tennessee area. And you got Bledsoe, geographically speaking, our closest school to us is probably either Polk County or York. in Jamestown, and that's not saying much because Tellico's a good ways off, Wartburg's a good ways off, and you got Oneida that's at the Kentucky line. I mean, my goodness. So, yeah, I don't think it's a fair or unfair issue because I mean, I think we got a pretty good region. I think we're going to be pretty successful in it, but still, I mean, driving 2.5, 3 hours.
I know that
on 3 or 4 Friday nights of the year is going to be, that's just outrageous. You know, it could be worse though. It could be like Bradley Central several years ago when they had to play them in the Knoxville district.
Yeah, that was
had to go up 75 and play up there every Friday night. So it could be worse, but it could definitely be better.
Well, of course, Bledsoe County will lose Meigs County entirely as they move to 3A. They lose to Marion as they go to a Middle Tennessee region. We will pick up, of course, Oneida, Wartburg, York. We will keep Polk County, Tellico in now reconstituted Region 2A. We will pick up Gordonsville as a first-time opponent and Sell Creek as a first-time opponent, and Cumberland County will come down here on the second week of the season. Now, of course, Bledsoe County, of course, has has a good squad. You say he has some areas he has to fill. Dwayne Tabor, of course, in his 5th season here, he has record 32-12. That's probably the best record I've seen of a coach here at Bledsoe County sometime to come. Brad, let's talk about Coach Tabor. Now, he came here 5 years ago. Do you think that the program is better for it than because he was hired?
I think the program is taking steps forward. I do, and I think it has since he got here. I mean, he's instilled not just, not to take anything away from the coaches we've had before, but when I still kind of wish that, principle wise, that Chris Frady would have had another chance. Because he kind of was,
yeah, he stepped in late.
He came in, without anything. I mean, and had to basically do the best that he could. And I think he did a fairly good job. But you had a chance to hire, a more experienced coach. You've got Dwayne Tabor, who wanted to come home, who has family here and connections here. And I think he has done a great job, not just himself, but hiring the right people to be in certain roles as far as the coaching staff is concerned, not just to teach the young men how to play football and how to excel, but also how to be better men. And I think he's instilled a winning tradition that has been, I wouldn't say lacking from Bledsoe County, but it's back when I played, we went into the games thinking we might win. Well, now the vast majority of the time, the attitude is when we go into the game, we're expecting to win the ball game right at the get-go. That comes from coaching. Having that, not just the students and the players, but the community, that comes from the support the coaches give the players and give one another and the community. So I think it's, all in all, I think Bledsoe County is continuing to take steps forward. I think Dwayne Tabor and the coaching staff is, got a lot to do with that. I think but it all boils down to the players. If you listen to him and you trust what he's trying to sell you, things end up turning out good. And they have. 32-12 kind of explains that. So
first senior class to have winning seasons in all 4 years. That's something there. Before we go on, we want to congratulate the softball team this year. They finished 22-1, won 22 straight games, but unfortunately losing the one game they needed to win to get to Murfreesboro. And the coaching staff in 2 seasons has won over 50 games. That is great.
It's impressive.
That's great. That's great. And then most of their team will be back next year. Could make another run. District regular, district tournament, region, went to the sectionals. Unfortunately, they lost. But again, congratulations to the coaches and players of that softball team for their wins. So let's look at Bledsoe's, of course, their region schedule. They got Oneida at home. That's the last game of the season. They got Wartburg on the road. They got York at home. They got Tellico Plains at Tellico Plains, and they got Polk at home, among other things. Looking at it, how do you figure they're going to finish? They're going to finish 5-0, first place, 4-1, second place, 3-2, or 0-5.
I've got to say, not just because I'm from Bledsoe, but the two that really concern me is York and Oneida. Last year we beat York like a drum. York got a lot better as the season progressed.
They did.
So, and they even, when it made a playoff run, went second round, I think, or maybe even the third. But York, is a up and coming team. That's going to be iffy there. I do see Bledsoe County having a great chance to win the ball game. Don't get me wrong, but I think we'll have a good shot to beat Oneida at home. If we were playing at Oneida, which we've never had good luck at Oneida. For even back when I played back in the 2000s, I mean, we've lost to Oneida by 1 point there, and they came down here and beat us by 1 point here. So I mean, we just, you never know. Teams like that with the travel and all of that, you just get, I don't know, it's different. You kind of have a little less confidence going into a game like that because of the drive and the travel. But the rest of the games, Polk County, Tellico, Wartburg, I see. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be an easy win because Polk County is an up-and-coming team too. But I still believe Bledsoe County has, controls their own destiny in regards to the region because they are the team to beat. I mean, they've proven that. And aside from the teams that are in our region this year, comparing the success of the last 2 or 3 years, Bledsoe County is definitely the team to beat in the region.
It's no doubt it's gonna be a tough league, but Bledsoe County, I think, has the capability of making a deep run into it and possibly finishing as highest second. They may take a loss somewhere along the line, probably Oneida maybe, but the thing about it is that you never can tell what comes out of the team. Remember when Coach Tabor came in, they won 3 games the year before, and nobody expected them to come out with 8 the first year, and then 11. And remember, you talked about a team they were beating. Look at Tyner. Bledsoe had not beaten Tyner in 21 games, I think dating back to World War II. I'm still trying to figure out whether we actually beat them in 42 or not. But Bledsoe not only beat them in Pikeville, but virtually just, I hate to use the term possum womp. But
someone told me that Tyner, someone told me that we had actually beat Tyner back in the 40s. I went back and tried to find that, Mike, and I cannot find.
That's so I couldn't find out either.
I mean, I would, if somebody's got out there's got a newspaper article or some kind of historical record to back that up, because I honestly believe that 2 years ago was the first time that we have ever beaten Tyner.
Right.
And I know for a fact it's the first time we've ever beaten the Tyner Rams.
Yeah.
Now, it could be in 1940-something we beat the Tyner Hilltoppers.
They were the Hilltoppers.
But we did not beat the Tyner Rams. And then the regime that Wayne Turner helped to create over there, in the last, 20 years, really. And they're reaping the benefits of it now. I mean, it's a program that Wayne Turner built.
Of course, they're building new facilities down there, so they're probably going to be playing in a different facility for at least a year before they get back to a new field and new facilities. And congratulations to Tyner for getting that funding to build those new facilities, and we hope that their education opportunities, of course, will go up. Now, let's look at one thing that seems to be coming out to be more of a common fad: artificial turf. Now, of course, first few years you heard that college football stadiums had them for years. Tennessee had them, was the first major college to have artificial turf. They called it Doug's Rug in '68 until they took that out in '94. Sequatchie County put one in a couple of years back, and no, it looks pretty or anything like that. York is putting one in. So there'll be another opportunity, and Chattanooga Christian has artificial turf on theirs. Do you believe that Bledsoe should put artificial turf on their field? I mean, the pros are that they can use the field for anything, but it costs a lot of money.
It costs a ton of money, and Bledsoe County just doesn't have the base to support that. I mean, you look at Sequatchie County, one of the richest, I mean, it's public record, one of the richest school systems in the state, if not the richest in the state. And that's even including inner city schools and things like that, Chattanooga, Knoxville, Nashville, Memphis schools, because they invest a lot of money and they use it wisely. I'm not saying that nobody else does, but Bledsoe County just doesn't have the money to throw around for artificial turf. And I'm just a stickler for the old-fashioned football. If it was up to me, we would revamp the Roy D. Greason field up here and play on the concrete with a little bit of grass.
Yeah.
But that's just what I've always loved, just the regular grass, because there's something about playing in a game, especially if it's damp weather, and it's kind of muddy and messy and all that. But I just like that. I think that's part of football, and the artificial turf takes a lot away from that. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you're not going to have the mud. Obviously, you're not going to have the grass stains, and not as much as you would on regular grass. Only thing is, when you're playing into October, November, your field's still going to be green instead of that old dingy yellow color. Mm-hmm. When the grass dies and the frost kills it. But it has its perks. But honestly, believe that there are, as far as Bledsoe County is concerned, unless somebody comes along and says, "Hey, I want to give you the $2 million to build this," fine, let's move with it. But for the school or even the county to say we're going to invest in artificial turf, I think there's a lot better ways to spend the money here in this town until we get a bigger tax base and maybe some other things that will help us out. But Ray County has turf as well, so a lot of them are going to that because they say it's easier to maintain.
I know Ray County softball field has artificial turf in the infield. It sort of reminds me of a story that one time as Bill Bell told it when he played at Alabama as a player, is that they would use Legion Field for all sorts of events, and that's where Alabama and Auburn played their games every year. Back then, before they switched to home and home deal. And so the groundskeepers used too much fertilizer on the grass, and it burned that grass right off. And they said it was like playing on concrete. So that's what the players said. It was like playing on concrete because there was no grass.
Yeah.
And that tells you how that is. But no, I don't think that really is that artificial turf doesn't add anything. It adds maybe a certain prestige, but that's about it. You don't. The ball bounces a different way, of course.
It does, and you can. With artificial turf, of course, I know people will argue against this, but statistics do show that artificial turf is not as easy on the knees and joints because there's no give to it as much as there is, the 2 to 3 inch grass. You have that natural ground grass feel. The grass will move with you. Yeah. The turf doesn't. Yeah. The turf, you plant your foot and you're there. It's just harder on your knees, and I believe that if Dallas hadn't had turf back in the 90s, Emmitt Smith went towards ACL, and his career went down the drain after that. But that's neither here nor there. I think the injuries are more prominent on artificial turf than are in grass. It happened anywhere, but if you can make the argument for or against anything, but I honestly I don't think that the artificial turf would really go over well here in Bledsoe County, and if it did, I just don't like the idea of saying, well, in 30 years it'll pay for itself. Yeah. Well, okay, would you get a house mortgage or something? Why would you want to invest so much time and effort into that you're not going to pay for, or actually reap the benefits of for 30 years, and you got to make repairs to it every 15 or so. Yeah. So I just don't see it being a feasible thing for Bledsoe County.
Okay, well, we want to thank the quarterback club for sprucing up the field.
Looks nice.
The concessions. They also are going to have a souvenir stand where you can go buy shirts and hats and such and that sort of thing. Now, for those who want to go to the games, want to buy season tickets, it's $35, and you can get them at the high school. $35 for season tickets at home, and that would, of course, that's 5 games. That's $7 a piece. That's not bad. You of course, they do sell single game tickets and that sort of thing, so it's a good thing to have. Again, as I said, for the Jamboree next week, go to the high school and pick them up in advance. That's $8, and that goes to Bledsoe County High School. You do it at the gate in Sequatchie County, he's going to pay Sequatchie County.
I believe it's like it is with every school that's involved. Howard, Grundy, Ray County, Sequatchie, Whitwell. I believe the school pre-sells the tickets on their own. That whatever they sell before the Jamboree, it stays at home. But like you said, if you buy it at Sequatchie, everything goes to Dunlap.
Absolutely.
And they don't. Used to, all the teams just split the gate and it'd be done. I guess they just got figure they didn't want to take the time to get the calculator out
Absolutely.
and divide it by 5 this time. But I don't know. I mean, concessions to all that. So if Dunlap is footing the bill for those two things, then they can get the gate. We can, get the pre-sale.
Yeah.
But if they're not, and we're having to pay for it, then I think we should get a chunk of that gate too.
Absolutely.
To offset the cost.
Okay, when we come back, we are going to discuss college football, NCAA investigations and whatnot, Tennessee football in particular, and a lot of other things relating to that. As you're listening to basically us on the air, what was the program? I forget my name.
Sports Scene.
Sports Scene. The Sports Scene. That's how old I am. The Sports Scene here on Bledsoe Telephone Channel Cooperative, Channel 18 and WAT AM 1110.
You need a bank that you can depend on. Here at Citizens Tri-County Bank, we have the most dependable staff that you will ever meet. Call in, you will not get an automated attendant, you'll get a person. But on the other side, we have all the technology that anyone would need, from apps to online banking to bill pay. So please come and grow with us as we're about to celebrate our 50th year. We are the only community bank you will ever need.
Come and see the beautiful Sequatchie Valley. While you're here, visit the Dunlap Mercantile. We have a full line of hats from Resistol, Stetson, Charlie One Horse, American Hat Makers, GG Pip, Greeley hats from the TV show Yellowstone, and a full line of vintage hats. Make sure to check out our hat bar where we can clean, shape, and customize a hat just for you, right here at the Dunlap Mercantile.
At Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter, we're committed to be better. Better prices, better vehicles, a better experience. Your Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter understands that you rely on us to provide you with the highest quality of used vehicles. With over 350 pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs, so what are you waiting for? Let us show you a better experience with the Jason Lewis Automotive family. Come visit us at Rankin Avenue here in Dunlap or on the web at dunlapsupercenter.com.
Okay, we're back at the Sports Scene, or the Mike and Bradley Show. Probably have to end up changing the name of this eventually. We're back here. Of course, we've discussed Bledsoe County sports, Bledsoe County football in particular, but now we're going to go on to the NCAA and college football. And of course, unfortunately, good comes to bad. Tennessee heard from the NCAA, and it was not good, but then it was not bad either to anything. And this is how it goes. Tennessee got nailed. 5 years probation. They have to give up 28 scholarships, even though they've already given up 18, so that'll be 10 to a year, so it won't be as bad. They will not receive a full season bowl ban, so they can still apply, still in a contention for conference and national championships. They will have to pay an $8 million fine to the NCAA, and they should give me some of that. That'd be fine.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, $4 million piece should be great. Anyway, among other things, and the coaches, Jeremy Pruitt and the others, have called a show cause thing, which basically means that the school who hires them has to show that they hired them in good faith, so to speak, and even they have to sit out a year before they actually coach. They'll have to vacate 11 victories during the Jeremy Pruitt area. So the 8-5 and the 3-7 records of 2019-2020 are going to be basically changed to 0-5 and 0-7. And of course that cuts Pruitt's down to 5-19 overall. Also, is that several boosters were told to stay away from the program, especially because because what happened was that some money got passed around that shouldn't get passed around, called illegal benefits to recruits, and as a result, that sort of thing. And of course, it doesn't affect the Tennessee team this year because as a result, Jeremy Pruitt got fired with cause, which meant no buyout for him. They brought in a new athletic director who hired the current coach, Josh Heupel. I finally learned how to say his name, Bradley. I used to call it Heupel.
Oh, I know.
So Josh
I
Heupel.
vividly remember correcting you several times on the radio, and you continued to say the same thing.
I learned how to say it. Judge Josh Heupel. I said it, said it correctly this time. And as a result, Tennessee has found new life. Last year went 11 wins and 2 losses. Beat Alabama for the first time in 15, 16 years. Beat Florida. Just about beat everybody. Shouldn't have lost to South Carolina.
No.
But, Georgia's loss was expected. Actually got to number 1 in the polls for the first time since 1998, and that was great. But, of course, LSU got caught earlier. They have to give up 37 victories under the previous coach. They had to vacate 37 victories, so they probably got hurt worse than we did.
Yeah.
And another thing, Northwestern fired its coach basically because of the recruiting scandal, and they hired Skip Holtz, the son of Lou Holtz, as their head coach. Supposedly that's almost a done deal. I think you have to cross some T's and dot some I's.
I just wonder if he's going to have as many good one-liners as Lou Holtz used to have.
Lou Holtz always reminded me of that little leprechauns. They used to call him that leprechaun coach.
Yeah.
Out there and that sort of thing. And he was real good at what he did, and that sort of thing. He was South Carolina, and he wasn't very happy on his last year when they got into that big brawl.
Yeah.
On the field, and I never seen anybody that small throw that big players out of the pile than Lou Holtz, and that sort of thing. Michigan's Jim Harbaugh may face a 4-game suspension for some things he shouldn't have done, and that sort of thing. Big Ten is getting Southern Cal and UCLA and its members.
It's kind of odd to me that the NCAA is cracking down so much on this money exchanging hands, but yet now you can get an NIL deal.
Yeah.
As I was reading an article that just yesterday that Reggie Bush, when he played for USC, of course, never was a big fan of USC, never was a big fan of Reggie Bush, but he won the Heisman, and because he took $300,000 under the table, they stripped his records, they stripped his Heisman trophy, and I think he had to pay a portion of that back. Okay, big deal. But if Reggie Bush was playing now in the same way he was then in college, he would probably have a 10 to 15 million NIL deal.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly legal.
Yeah. Back then it wasn't legal. Today
I'm like,
it is.
how in the world can you justify now going back and saying, well, we're okay with money changing hands now, but we're going to go back and we're not going to do anything here?
Because
wrong is wrong. I get that, but I just find it very difficult to believe that, and not just because it's Tennessee. I mean, if it had been if it had been Alabama, or if it had been Florida, or anybody, really, if the school administration has no knowledge of what the coach is doing, number one, they should.
Yeah.
Number two, the fact that he was doing it under the radar, they had no knowledge of it. Why punish the school and the kids who are playing because of a mistake that somebody else made?
Well, of course, the NCAA this year passed legislation saying that those who were not involved in the thing and several years afterward should not be punished. That's why Tennessee didn't get a bowl ban, because normally they would.
Yeah.
Ole Miss and that sort of thing. But the difference between the NIL and what Reggie Bush did, the NIL is over the table, and what happened with Reggie Bush was under the table, and that's what gets you.
But they've had, from the history of college football, as well as I do, that there's been money passed under the table. It's just that some people get caught, some people don't. Some people find out about it and are jealous because they didn't get the money, so they turn somebody in. That's just what it boils down to, And what it really boils down to is the NCAA don't get a cut of that.
Maryland quarterback, he was talking about, an SEC school offered me $1.5 million to come play for them. And he didn't mention the school.
I understand that his last name, being Tua Tagovailoa's brother, would lead you to believe that he's an exceptional quarterback. But I find it very difficult to believe that any SEC school would put up $1.5 million to get a quarterback down from Maryland. I mean, it just don't make sense to me.
No.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying that it just...
Maybe a story he's making up just to get a little attention.
It could be. I just don't see any... plausible reason why they would want him play. From Maryland. I mean,
Yeah.
I could see, Alabama offering Joe Milton, something
Yeah.
or whatever. But no, not from
Yeah.
no, not from Maryland.
Let's talk conference realignment. Now we have a whole bunch of schools going elsewhere. It used to be where if you were on the West Coast or something, or the South, you stayed in your conference out of that sort of thing, and you had relatively few defections. Now you got UCLA and Southern Cal going to the Big Ten. They're talking to Arizona, and Arizona's going to the Big 12. Colorado is meeting the Big 12 and going back to the Big 12. Pac-12 to the Big 12 after about only a decade. And then you have, of course, Texas and Oklahoma coming to the SEC. And the ACC's, looks like they might lose some schools. Clemson might be going to the Big 10, believe it or not. I think there'll be more Southeastern Conference because basically they play South Carolina every year. And Florida State could probably go into the SEC. It used to be, in 1990, I was sort of against when the SEC went to 12 teams and an SEC championship, and I said, oh no, we're going to lose any shot at the national championship because they're going to lose in the SEC championship game.
Yeah.
And of course, it didn't happen. It only happened once, and I won't mention the team that lost that shot because we might get a rash of phone calls with angry Vol fans wanting us burned at the stake. But look at it this way right now. You had SEC had 13 teams when it started in 33. Sewanee dropped out in 1940 because it wanted to downgrade its football facilities, and you and I have been out to Sewanee. We know they don't have a big stadium. And then Georgia Tech left because of scheduling promises, and Tulane left in '66 because they couldn't win anymore. And they remained 10 until the SEC took Arkansas and South Carolina in. And then, and as you know, the rest is history. And now they're talking about probably moving the SEC championship game to either Nashville or to Dallas. Now, this is Texas's doing, no doubt about moving it to Dallas. Texas got the money. You have the money. It's the golden rule. Those who have the gold rules. You get the idea. What do you think about all this conference realignment?
First of all, I think that within the next decade, I think you're going to have 4 major conferences. That's it.
Well, who do you think is going to go out of business?
I think you're going to have. I think your SEC is going to be there. Your Big 10, your Big 12, and your Pac-12. There's going to be 4 major conferences. Is what I think.
The ACC is going to be. ACC is going to.
I think it's going to dissolve. I think eventually, if there's a lot of people speculating about Florida State, Miami, Clemson, Georgia Tech, and even as far north as North Carolina, Duke. And I've even had some people say something about Virginia Tech. If that happens, if they come over, I think it's just a matter of time until Oklahoma State follows Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Because that's a rivalry right there that both schools and the state of Oklahoma is going to want to preserve.
They call that the Bedlam Bowl. The Oklahoma coaches said that once Oklahoma leaves for the SEC, there won't be there will not be an Oklahoma State game.
Yeah, and the Oklahoma locals and faithful are going to want that because that's a huge rivalry. That's like Tennessee, saying, well, we're not going to play our in-state rival Vanderbilt anymore. I mean, wouldn't bother me because Vandy's Vandy, but it's just something that the state rivals want to have. Auburn, Alabama, imagine trying to convince someone from Tuscaloosa or even Auburn that game's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just not going to work.
You'll have a riot in Alabama.
So I look for Oklahoma State to come over eventually. Now, again, I don't know how long this is going to take, but I look for Oklahoma State to come over. I look for North Carolina, Duke to come over. Clemson, if they go to the Big Ten, which is good for them because they'll have a cupcake schedule more so than they do now. Florida State, Miami come to the SEC as well. The only reason it's not done this already is South Carolina's knocking Clemson. They don't want them.
No.
They don't want them in the SEC.
No.
The same reason that Florida is knocking FSU and Miami.
They don't want
them in the SEC.
Well, initially they contacted Florida State in 1990 about joining, but Florida vetoed to say we got enough natural rivals in our state to have another conference championship.
Well, I mean, it was closer than some people realized back at that time. But Bobby Bowden, being their head coach, they asked him, what made you decide not to join the SEC? And his comment was, I'm just trying to paraphrase here, but his comment was, why would we want to do that? Because we're playing top-notch programs every single week in the SEC,
why make it tough
opposed to 2 or 3. Yeah, why make it tough for us? So, and there's a lot of truth to that, and I think that's kind of what got Georgia fired up about TCU. Because their coach said, we're not fortunate enough to play the Wofords and the Samfords in the last game of the season. Okay, well that's fine. But what are you playing the first 11 games of the season? You're playing Texas Tech. You're playing Texas, and I haven't really been relevant to the last year.
Yeah.
So I mean, in the Big 12, what do you have? That's like the ACC. There's not a school or a conference that has the caliber of teams that the SEC has, and I mean that's just the way it is.
Texas A&M doesn't really want to play Texas again.
No,
but because basically that rivalry ended when they went to the SEC. They left because of Texas and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is that of course next year. They said, look, for a year they just kicked this down the road. Of course, they said they're going to eliminate the divisions. There's not going to be no division play. Top 2 teams play each other in the SEC championship game, and they decided who's going to play what. We got Oklahoma on the road, and that sort of thing. What do you do with some of the rivalries you're going to have? Are you going to knock off Tennessee, Alabama? No, you're not going to do that because basically that's your marquee game. You're not going to. People are saying, well, they like have pods. 4 teams apiece, champions of the pods play each other in a semifinal game, and then the top 2 play in the SEC championship game. And and I've seen some of the crazy ideas for pods. They like have Vanderbilt, Alabama, and Kentucky as permanent opponents for Tennessee and that sort of thing. But and then rotate the other teams that are like every couple of years you go out and play a couple of them.
I know Alabama has always been Tennessee's primary rival.
That's the biggest one, except Auburn. Of course, if you ask an Auburn fan, they'll tell you different.
Yeah, that's what we look forward to every year is Alabama. But I think one of Tennessee's biggest rivals, in my opinion, is Florida. And there will be some that will argue and say no Vanderbilt because they're in state, no Georgia because no Kentucky because we can't be rivals with everybody. But Tennessee's historically rivalry with Alabama needs to be preserved.
That's the marquee game. You know how it was last year.
Yeah.
It was so big. I think it was the biggest thing I had seen in that series in a long, long while, and it got down. In fact, that game was so loud, I actually had to turn the TV down because it was like it was giving me a headache.
There were so many times in that game last year, and both teams, played lights out. Obviously, the score would tell you that. But there were so many times that Tennessee made a mistake, and Alabama capitalized. And I was sitting there watching it thinking, well, Tennessee has Tennessee'd itself again. Because we're doing what we normally do. We have control of the game, and then we start giving things away. And then, so we started swapping licks. Tennessee got the ball back, went down, answered. And I'm like, okay, so that's a different attitude here. But yeah, when they set that field goal up, I said, no, we're going to miss it. We're going to overtime. And we're going to lose.
Yeah.
And, man, I was ecstatic when Tennessee won that ball game. And I didn't get to really celebrate that much because Gary Danielson on the TV, his counterpart asked and, said Tennessee's going to get a hefty fine for this. He said, well, they've had 14 years to save up for it, so...
They didn't really mind. I always reminded of the thing that they said was that if you watch this game and you don't understand what's going on, then you got a problem.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. Because really is that Alabama player blocked that ball partially.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it went like the whirly bird.
Yep.
And just went over it. And I always like to question is that kicker will never have to buy another meal in Knoxville ever again. And that was really, really very, very interesting. But it's you look at this thing, this year I've seen so many teams, so many colleges get in some sort of trouble, something going on here. If you watch the Condrich Holloway, the color of orange, is that when he was being recruited, he was also being recruited for his baseball ability. He's a great baseball player. He was on an All-America team at UT playing baseball, and they had the Montreal Expos. They don't exist anymore, I don't believe.
Nope.
They're Washington now, I believe.
Washington Nationals.
And they had this guy, and they had the recruiter for Tennessee who would drive around in an orange and white car. And I've seen the car. Tennessee orange with white top. And he would say that this, and the baseball recruiter had $100,000 in a briefcase. $100,000 in a briefcase. Said, this is what we can give you on over the table. If they had to pay you, they have to do it under the table, and that turned Condrich right off. And he said, "I'm going to Tennessee."
Yeah.
And that's the thing, because his mother wanted him to finish up his education, and he thought that more important. And I think to be like this, I thought Hendon Hooker should have won the Heisman. It's my opinion that he should have won the Heisman instead of fifth. I don't know what's wrong with these Heisman people.
If he hadn't have gotten hurt, I think he would have.
I think that turf. You ever see that turf in South Carolina? I know all the years past, I've never seen sand come out of that turf.
Yeah.
And you saw sand coming out of that turf. I don't know if they deliberately did that to get him hurt.
Well, I don't know if you can actually say that, but they do use with those rubber pellets a little bit of sand to give it some more stability, or try to give a little more give and everything, natural give. But yeah, they repair a lot, like to do a divot on a golf course with that sand, and it's just a quick cover up. But again, turf injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just Hendon Hooker wasn't just a good quarterback as a player; he was a good guy. Mm-hmm. So he took it to the next level, and if he really epitomized what the Heisman Trophy should be. Yeah. It should not be like it's gotten the past several years. It's a popularity contest, And some of your greatest players are playing on teams with, 2 and 3 losses. Yeah. But they're not considered because they're not undefeated. They're not playing for national title. Mm-hmm. And it just doesn't make sense to me why the Heisman voters want to get the best of the best, but they look over so many good players, and it just almost on purpose. I don't know.
Okay, this was just this question. Tennessee finished 11-2 last year. They finished second in the SEC East. They won the Orange Bowl over Clemson because Clemson got down the field, and a lot of times simply blew opportunities. Mm-hmm. And Tennessee took advantage of the opportunities and won that game, and they finished 6th in the nation. Will Tennessee finish undefeated, win the SEC East, win the SEC championship, win the national title? Will they finish 11-2, second in the SEC again, go to a bowl like the Sugar and win that, or will they finish 500 or maybe 6-6?
Wow, it's tough because I'm just going to go ahead and tell you it's going to be extremely difficult to beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa.
Absolutely.
Especially after last year. Mm-hmm. It's going to be extremely difficult to beat Georgia, even though we have them at home. Okay. It can be done. We've proven that last year with Alabama. Yeah. It can be done.
It can be done.
But those 2 games is really the ones that stand out to me as potential losses. It would be great to go into Tuscaloosa and upset them again. Yeah. And it would be even greater, to upset Georgia at home and storm the field again, because that would happen.
Yeah, that'll happen.
So I hope they got new goalposts.
Now they got $250,000 too, because that's what's going to cost them.
I hope they got some new goalposts setting aside, because you never know if they do beat Georgia, that's going to happen. But the rest of the games, you start off the game with Virginia in a neutral at Nissan Stadium.
Nashville is not a neutral site. Nashville's not a neutral site. You know, they said that about UCLA one time. UCLA coach said that we were going to play Tennessee in Memphis, which is a neutral site, and the coach there who was from Memphis, he said, neutral site? That's like playing Notre Dame in Rome. He said that wasn't no neutral site.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm going to really like to see if Joe Milton has improved the way they said he has.
Well, he showed some improvement.
And he's put touch on the ball. I mean, everybody knows he's got probably the best arm in the country with on the football field.
Yeah.
You know, I sat there and watched him. You know, on video, he was on one knee at the 50-yard line and was throwing it through the uprights in the field. You know, and it looked effortless. And you know, you watched him throw that orange from one end zone to like 20 yards past the other end zone, the entire length of the field. You know, and he can flick his wrist and throw the ball 80 yards.
Yeah.
Only problem is his receivers are at 60 and 70.
Yeah.
You know, so he's been overthrown.
He's going to have to judge it better.
He's got to get that touch, and I think he's been working with the Peyton Manning Academy and things like that.
Yes, he's gone to that.
To help get that touch on the ball. If he does that, if he has the arm strength coupled with the touch on passes that Hendon Hooker had, I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and say that it's very, very likely if he does that and stays healthy that he'll be a Heisman finalist. Joe Milton controls his own destiny right now. He could go down as a legend in Tennessee this year if he steps up, because he stayed with it. He didn't, you know, he stayed his final year. He didn't, you know, want to go pro or anything. He wanted to develop, because I think he knew that there was something special about Tennessee this year.
He wanted
to see what he could do with that team that's coming up this year. You know, but you know, losing Jalen Hyatt and, you know, a couple of the receivers, you know, Tillman, all of those guys, but they've got transfers coming in that are top notch. So he's going to have plenty of places to throw the football, and I just hope he can get it there. I mean, hope he can get it there the way it, you know, with the touch that it needs to be. Because if he hits, you know, if he gets anywhere close, I mean, the receiving core that we have, I honestly don't believe that now, the receiving core that we have now, if you get anywhere close, they're going to catch it.
Absolutely.
I mean, they got good hands. They're going to catch it. They're going to, you know, make the big plays. And you know, when the Jabari Small and those guys in the backfield, I think it's going to offset quite nicely, because Tennessee's, I believe, is going to have one of the most potent offenses again this year, and it's going to be interesting. Like I said, those two games, Alabama and Georgia, it's going to be the ones that I've got circled on my calendar, because the rest of the teams, I mean, South Carolina, we play them at home, and kind of the same situation we have with Alabama playing at Tuscaloosa.
Right.
Is we're a little bit fired up, a little bit sore from what happened last year.
Yeah.
So I look for Tennessee to come out and just come out swinging, you know, throwing haymakers at the beginning of that one, trying to get it over with quick. I think we'll beat Florida in the swamp this year. Texas A&M, we play them at home. I think we should win that one, having home field advantage. Beating Kentucky in Lexington, yes, it's kind of tough, but Kentucky's rebuilding.
Right.
I mean, Will Levis is not there, so somebody's going to have to step up and do what they can to bring Kentucky back out of the cellar. So
you got Vanderbilt.
And Vanderbilt, well, we don't even count Vanderbilt.
Well, you know, Vanderbilt, you know, upset two folks. Got with, and if they had beaten Tennessee, they'd been in the bowl. But Tennessee, unfortunately for Vanderbilt, Tennessee, they caught Tennessee in a bad mood.
Well, the experts, you might say, are predicting that Missouri is one of those sleeper games that Tennessee might lose.
It's possible. I mean, you know, Missouri, you know,
play it in Columbia. It might, you know, that's not one of my two circled games. My two losses is, you know, circled question mark with, you know, maybe a loss or win is Alabama, Georgia, but Missouri, I just don't see it. I don't see it being. I mean,
you never know about.
Yeah, those. They got a potent offense, you know, but so do we. You know, and I just don't see Tennessee struggling that much with Missouri. But you never know.
Okay, when we come back, we are going to have some final words here at course, the Sports Scene, or the Bradley and Mike Show. We may have to change the name eventually on that. As we'll just discuss some final words and some thank yous for everybody to go around. As you're listening to the Sports Scene here on WAT Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative Channel 18.
At Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter, we're committed to be better. Better prices, better vehicles, a better experience. Your Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter understands that you rely on us to provide you with the highest quality of used vehicles. With over 350 pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. So what are you waiting for? Let us show you a better experience with the Jason Lewis Automotive family. Come visit us at Rankin Avenue here in Dunlap or on the web at dunlapsupercenter.com.
Come and see the beautiful Sequatchie Valley. And while you're here, visit the Dunlap Mercantile. We have a full line of hats from Resistol, Stetson, Charlie One Horse, American Hat Makers, GG Pip, Greeley hats from the TV show Yellowstone, and a full line of vintage hats. Make sure to check out our hat bar where we can clean, shape, and customize a hat just for you, right here at the Dunlap Mercantile.
You need a bank that you can depend on. Here at Citizens Tri-County Bank, we have the most dependable staff that you will ever meet. Call in, you will not get an automated attendant, you'll get a person. But on the other side, we have all the technology that anyone would need, from apps to online banking to bill pay. So please come and grow with us as we're about to celebrate our 50th year. We are the only community bank you will ever need.
Okay, we are back. Some final words here before we go off the air for this inaugural broadcast of the Sports Scene, or the Mike and Bradley Show, whichever you prefer. First off, we want to thank Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative for sponsoring this show. The cameraman is doing a great job back there. As always keeping watching us, make sure we don't get into any fights or anything like that. I will thank Bradley Hargis for being on this program and, of course, bringing his wisdom of what the sports scene hears tonight. We hope that you enjoyed it. We hope that you've learned something. You may have known about some of the stuff we've talked about. Some of you may not know what stuff about we're talking about. Some may not understand exactly what we're saying. But needless to say, everybody involved in here tonight, has done a good job here tonight. And obviously, I give credit where credit is due. And obviously, we're just glad to see you. And in a couple of weeks, we're going to do another show, hopefully. And we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you, the watchers, on the show, and any suggestions and that sort of thing. So maybe sort of like changing the name or something like that. Something like that. Again, this is the Sports Scene, or the Mike and Bradley Show, whichever you prefer.
There's a specific sport that you'd like to talk about, let us know. I think we'll probably get into baseball next time we do this.
I would say baseball will be our next one.
Major League Baseball and things like that. But we're open to suggestions. Neither one of us claim to be experts. We're just rambling guys that love sports. So I hope that you're entertained by it. And if you don't like it, don't tell us. But if you love it, tell us.
Okay, next Friday night, of course, we will start the football broadcast on WAT with the Jamboree, and that'll be Bledsoe and Sequatchie County Junior Varsity in the first quarter, and then Bledsoe will be starters against Ray County in the second quarter. So we'd like you to go to the Jamboree and enjoy it, and also listen to the broadcast live here on WAT on Friday nights. We will start the broadcast about 5:50 p.m. before the Jamboree begins. You can get tickets.
Might do well. You just started to doing what I started to remind you to do. Mm-hmm. Make sure you get your tickets at Bledsoe County High School.
Absolutely.
Because money that's bought from Bledsoe County High School for this Jamboree stays with Bledsoe County High School. If you pay for it at the gate, that money will go to Sequatchie County High School, being the host school. So please go to the office at the high school before next Friday night and buy your season tickets and even buy your Jamboree tickets. as well.
Wear the blue and gold to every game this season. Cheer on the Warriors and cheer on, but be sportsman-like it. Treat the opposition with respect and kindness. You know, as athletes, we expect no less. And of course, it'll be an exciting season. And of course, on the 18th, we'll be playing at Dunlap against Sequatchie County for the first opening game between these two teams, the border rivalry. Again, the Chief Roaring Eagle Trophy and the thing. And we'll hopefully try to get some guests on here as well. Hopefully into the future. Hopefully the football coach will come on and talk to us a little bit, and a lot of other things here. Also, we have the flea market in the world's longest yard sale, or the biggest flea market in the world.
Starting this weekend.
It is already starting this week. In fact, it's probably already started.
There's a lot of people set up
already. So we want everyone to be careful. I mean, there's people who are not going to always watch you when they cross the traffic road for the greatest sale, especially on baseball cards. I know that Bradley, you're looking for baseball cards in particular. So if you know of anywhere there's some
baseball cards, you let me know.
Absolutely. And of course, again, we thank Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative for putting us on the air. And again, if we want to hear from you, if you have suggestions how to make this program better, we would surely love to hear it. So Bradley, again, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you.
We thank the cameraman for doing such a fine job here. We want to thank everybody involved here. Billy Bridges at WAT for allowing the use of his studios here at WAT AM. Again, next Friday night, the Jamboree, Bledsoe County and Sequatchie County in junior varsity, and the Bledsoe County and then Ray County in the second quarter, and then of course the opener against Sequatchie County at Dunlap. So this will do it for us. We'll say goodbye as you're watching the sports scene, or the Mike and Bradley show here on Bledsoe Telecooperative Channel 18 and WAT AM 1110, Pikeville, Tennessee. Good day, everybody. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Brought to you by Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative in the Sequatchie Valley.